Hey, how's it going? So continuing on with my series of videos on productivity and getting the most out of your day, I'm going to talk about sleep, my sleeping habits, my schedule. You've most probably thought about or tried waking up early. If you look at the most successful people in the world, what you'll find is they all have a morning ritual. There's a video out there, I'll leave a link to it. It's about the morning rituals of the most successful people. We're talking about guys like Sir Richard Branson, Oprah Winfrey, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and you'll find that they all wake up around 4:30 and 5 a.m. Sir Richard Branson gets up at 4:30 and he goes surfing. Why? Why is this? I have my own ideas. I think it's because it gets them off on the right footing. I think maybe it's probably just a natural consequence of being switched on. They know what they want and they believe that they can have it, and they get up and they go for it. If I told you that your dream is waiting for you at the end of the road, you'd find the energy from somewhere. If a bus opened your door at 3 a.m., you'll find the energy to get up and go out there and grab it and take it. I'll say it's at the end of the road, it's only 5 minutes away and it's yours, and you do it. So as you can tell, this is an idea I'm quite passionate about, but no doubt there are going to be times in our lives where we need more sleep, and it's no good trying to cut back on sleep. If you're going through a stressful patch at work or in your relationship, that's the time when you're going to need more sleep, and we just have to accept it. So it depends upon where you are in your life. When I've worked jobs in the past where I wasn't happy in that job, I found it a real struggle to wake up early, and when I did try to cut back on my sleep, it never worked. It wasn't sustainable, it wasn't maintainable. So yes, I do agree that many of us, the majority of us, will need 8 hours sleep, but not for the reasons that we think. There are other variables involved. So they know this, the experts know this, and they know that there are a small percentage of people that do very well on 4 to 6 hours sleep, and they'll tell you that it's because of the gene. There's a gene, and you either have that gene switched on or you have it switched off. Now, I don't buy into that way of thinking, and the reason I say that is because I've looked into the work of Bruce Lipton. He's written this book, The Biology of Belief, and it's all about how it's actually your beliefs that switch genes on and off. So if you believe that you don't need that much sleep, then you can actually switch that gene on, whereby you don't need as much sleep. If you're going to cut back on sleep, if you're going to start a polyphasic sleep pattern, and we'll get into that in a moment, don't go into it believing that there's a lack of time. If you believe that the only way in order for you to be successful is if you have more time, then you're just going to drain your energy. You're actually secreting stress hormones when you have that, because that's a lack mentality. And I've read this book, Power versus Force by David R. Hawkins, and it's all about, again, your beliefs, your mentality, your perspective, and how that influences the body. So instead, it's the correct usage of the time that you have. It's not about having more time. When you start looking into cutting back on time, you can become a little bit of a hoarder. You start to get greedy. You start to I've done this. I wrote out all these schedules, and if I can just get an extra 3 hours here, then 3 hours isn't enough. I need an extra 4 hours and an extra 5 hours, and it starts to get a little crazy. So instead, go into it believing, I've got all the time I need. I just need to use it in the right way. There's an abundance of time. So you just got to get clear on what it is you want. So let's get into polyphasic sleep. That's all about breaking your sleep into segments. So rather than taking a long 8 hours, you break it up. So you take typically a 3 to 4 hour core and then 3 naps throughout the day. Now, I've looked into this. I've been interested in polyphasic sleep for the past 5 years. I've made videos on the subject. It's not something that I just read about last week and now I'm all pumped about the idea. I've experimented with this for many years with the strictest of schedules, and that's known as the uberman, whereby you're sleeping for just 2 hours, so you take 20-minute naps spread out throughout 24 hours. I've tried that. I've tried the everyman, which is a 3-hour core with 3 naps, all the way to trying out this siesta schedule, which is what I'm on now. So I get 6 to 6.5 hours, and I take a nap, sometimes 2. So when you start to look into these polyphasic sleep cycles, I would say don't underestimate the power of just becoming an early riser. And I think that's why a lot of successful people wake up early, because it's quiet out there, and I find that I can really focus on what it is I want to focus on without interruption. I wake up at 4:30, I go for a walk, and I don't see anyone, and it's so peaceful, and there's something in the air. I made a video a couple of weeks ago all about my schedule, so go check that out. I talk all about my whole day and the reason behind that. So there's something really powerful about just becoming an early riser, and so the biphasic sleep schedule works perfectly for me. Once I have a solid foundation of the biphasic sleep schedule, then I will experiment with what's known as the everyman schedule. I touched on that earlier. That's where you're sleeping for 3 to 3.5 hours and you take 3 20-minute naps. So I'll experiment with that in future. You need to have something to do. If you're going to wake up early, you need to be so passionate about what it is you're doing. Otherwise, you're just going to find yourself getting sleepy. You're going to fall asleep. You need to know why you're doing it. You need to know the impact it's going to have on your life. The goal needs to be exciting enough. It needs to be outrageous enough to stimulate that excitement, but it needs to be something doable. It needs to be something that you believe that you can fulfill it. You know, in this world right now, you can find good reasons and bad reasons to do anything. You can find an expert that will tell you that this is a good idea. You can find experts that will tell you this is a bad idea. You should eat this way. You should eat that way. You should do this, do that. And you've got to experiment for yourself. You've got to know thyself and know what works for you. And you do that by checking in with yourself. How does this feel right now? How do I feel when I eat that? How do I feel when I wake up at that time? And you got to be honest with yourself. I had to take an honest look at myself and say, hey, the things that I'm most passionate about, Mike, you're just not doing it, mate. I just wasn't doing it. It wasn't getting done. And I said, right, okay, what can I do? Maybe if I wake up early, carve out that time early in the morning, take action on it, and it's changed my whole outlook. And now I'm putting out much more into the world. Things are getting done. Check out my previous videos I've made on building habits and other techniques. I'm going to leave it there before I start to ramble even more. Hope you got something from this video, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.